Life doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't care about the story you've been telling yourself for years. It doesn't care about your comfort zone. Life rewards one thing, action. It rewards hunger. It rewards the decision to rise when everything in you wants to stay down. That's why winners win and losers lose. It's not about luck. It's not about talent. It's about the standard you set for yourself and the mindset you refuse to let go of. Winners don't always start with the best circumstances. They don't always have the resources, the support, or the perfect plan, but they carry something far greater, a relentless drive to turn obstacles into opportunities. When a door slams shut, they don't stand there crying about it. They kick down another one. When they get knocked down, they don't ask, "Why me?" They ask, "What now? What's my next move?" Because they know the world doesn't stop for their pain. The world rewards those who refuse to quit. Losers, on the other hand, are experts at one thing, stories. They tell themselves why they can't. They tell themselves why it's too hard, too late, too risky. They've got a list of excuses that sound convincing, but deep down they know the truth. It's fear. Fear of failing, fear of looking stupid, fear of discomfort. And the more they feed those excuses, the more they become trapped in the same cycle. Losers lose not because life is unfair, but because they choose comfort over growth, doubt over belief, and hesitation over action. Winners win because they've made a decision, not once, but every single day. A decision that says, "No matter what it takes, I will rise." Winners feed their faith more than their fear. They take massive action before they feel ready. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They create it. They know momentum builds power, and the moment you move, life begins to move with you. You see, the difference between winners and losers is not that winners never fail. Winners fail more than anyone else. But they use failure as fuel. They let every setback sharpen them, strengthen them, prepare them. Where losers see a wall, winners see a challenge. Where losers stop, winners adapt. Where losers complain, winners create. So the question is, what do you want to be? Do you want to stay trapped in the comfort of excuses, or do you want to step into the discomfort of growth? Do you want to look back and say, "I almost did"? Or do you want to stand tall and say, "I did it, I lived it, I became it"? Because in the end, it's simple. Winners win, losers lose, not by chance, not by fate, but by choice. Every day, every decision, every action, and the choice is in your hands right now. Winners make decisions, losers make excuses. This is the dividing line between those who rise and those who remain stuck where they are. A decision is powerful. A real decision means cutting off every other possibility and saying, "This is the way, and I will not turn back." Winners understand that life responds to clarity. They don't sit around waiting for everything to be perfect or for the stars to align. They don't wait until they feel ready. They decide, and the moment they decide, they shift their entire identity. They shift their standards, they shift their actions, and life begins to shift with them. A decision changes the way you move, the way you speak, the way you think. It changes what you tolerate and what you will no longer accept. When a winner says yes, it's a full yes. When they say no, it's absolute. That is why doors open for them, why opportunities show up, because the universe responds to certainty, not hesitation. Losers, on the other hand, always have a reason why now is not the time. They say, "I'll start tomorrow, I'll do it when I'm ready, I'll try when things calm down." They think they are making choices, but really they are making excuses wrapped in logic. They tell themselves stories that sound rational, but deep down, it's fear controlling their life. Excuses become their comfort zone, their shield against risk, their reason to never fully commit. But here's the truth. Every excuse is just a lie that keeps them from seeing their own potential. Every time they justify an action, they strengthen the habit of hesitation. And hesitation kills dreams more than failure ever could. Winners make decisions fast and adjust along the way. They know that clarity comes from action, not from endless thinking. They step forward and the path reveals itself. They don't have to know how everything will unfold. They just need to know the direction and trust themselves to figure out the rest. Winners understand that success is not built on perfect plans, but on powerful decisions executed with relentless consistency. They are not afraid to burn the boats behind them because they know retreat is not an option. When they commit, they go all in, and that level of commitment makes success inevitable over time. Losers, however, are paralyzed by overthinking. They want guarantees before they act. They want proof before they believe. They want certainty without risk. They drown themselves in what-ifs. What if I fail? What if I get rejected? What if I'm not good enough? And because of that endless loop of doubt, they never get started, or if they do, they stop the moment it gets uncomfortable. They trade their dreams for excuses and then wonder why nothing changes. They forget that indecision is still a decision. It's a decision to stay where they are. Winners live by standards, not moods. They don't wait to feel motivated. They don't wait for someone to push them. They decide who they are, and then they live it daily, whether they feel like it or not. When a winner wakes up tired, they still move. When life hits them hard, they still keep going. Their decision to succeed is not conditional, it's absolute. That's why they keep gaining momentum, because their decision has already been made, and their actions simply follow it. Losers live by feelings. They start something when it's convenient, stop when it's hard, and restart again when they feel inspired. Their entire life is a cycle of inconsistency because they never truly decided. They are caught between wanting and committing, between wishing and doing. That's why they stay stuck, not because they can't, but because they never decided they must. Winners and losers might face the same challenges, the same failures, the same setbacks, but their response is different. Winners decide to keep moving forward no matter what. Losers decide to find another excuse to stop. The difference is so simple yet so powerful. Winners win because they decide to. Losers lose because they decide not to. It's not fate, it's not destiny, it's not luck. It's the power of decision. Winners see failure as fuel, losers see it as final. This single shift in perception separates those who rise to greatness from those who stay trapped in mediocrity. Failure is not the opposite of success, it is the path to it. Every winner has stumbled, fallen, and hit walls that seemed impossible to break. But they refused to see those moments as the end. They looked at failure as feedback, as a lesson, as raw material for their next breakthrough. Failure was never something to be ashamed of. It was a badge of growth, proof that they were in the arena, proof that they had the courage to try. Winners take every mistake and extract wisdom from it, using it to sharpen their strategies and strengthen their resilience. Where others see a dead end, winners see a stepping stone. They know that every failure brings them one step closer to mastery, one step closer to victory, one step closer to becoming the person capable of achieving the vision they hold. Losers, on the other hand, collapse under failure. The moment something doesn't go their way, they see it as confirmation of their doubts. They use failure as proof that they weren't good enough, that the dream was too big, that they should have never tried in the first place. They interpret setbacks as permanent, as if one failed attempt defines their entire potential. Instead of asking, "What can I learn from this?" they ask, "Why me?" And in that instant they hand their power away. By seeing failure as final, they stop before the real transformation begins. They never give themselves the chance to adapt, to improve, to grow through the struggle. And so they remain stuck in the cycle of starting and quitting, never realizing that the difference between those who win and those who lose is not the absence of failure, but the refusal to let it end them. Winners embrace the pain of failure because they know that pain is temporary, but the lessons are permanent. They understand that failure is the universe's way of exposing their weaknesses so they can strengthen them, of testing their hunger to see if they truly want what they say they want. When a winner fails, they don't shrink back. They double down. They adjust, they refine, they adapt their approach until they figure it out. They don't let the sting of defeat define them, they let it drive them. Failure fuels their determination. It adds fire to their vision. It makes their eventual success even more meaningful because they know they earned it through struggle. Losers hide from failure. They fear it so much that they never give themselves permission to take risks. They want certainty, they want guarantees, they want safety. They forget that the cost of avoiding failure is far greater than the pain of facing it, because safety kills dreams while failure builds them. They stop trying after one rejection, they walk away after one obstacle, and they convince themselves that it just wasn't meant to be. But the truth is, it wasn't failure that defeated them, it was their interpretation of it. Failure was never the end, but they treated it as the end, and in doing so, they sealed their fate. Winners know that failure creates character. It builds toughness, it cultivates resilience, it forces creativity. Every time they fail, they learn what doesn't work and inch closer to what does. They realize that success is nothing more than a series of failures navigated with persistence. They understand that the greatest inventors, leaders, and visionaries weren't people who avoided failure, but people who failed more than anyone else and kept going anyway. Failure is their teacher, not their enemy. Losers avoid the lessons failure offers. They see only embarrassment, shame, and disappointment, and because of that, they repeat the same mistakes or worse. They never attempt again. They spend more energy protecting their ego than building their future. They protect their pride in the moment, but they sacrifice their potential in the long run. They care more about looking like they never failed than actually growing strong enough to win. Winners are not afraid of falling because they know they will rise stronger. They don't measure themselves by the number of times they fall, but by the number of times they get back up. They don't see failure as final, they see it as fuel. And that fuel is what drives them to push harder, go further, and ultimately win. Winners create momentum, losers wait for the perfect moment. This distinction defines the trajectory of every life, every dream, every goal. Momentum is a force that builds with action, and action is the lifeblood of achievement. Winners understand this instinctively. They know that movement generates energy, energy generates clarity, and clarity generates results. They don't wait for the stars to align or for the ideal conditions to present themselves. They know that the perfect moment is an illusion, a trap that keeps people stuck in the comfort of hesitation. Winners start now. They start imperfectly, they start fearfully, they start with doubt and uncertainty, but they start. And the act of starting is what transforms possibility into reality. Each step they take, no matter how small, compounds into a powerful wave of progress that carries them forward, often faster than they imagined. Losers, by contrast, are paralyzed by timing. They wait for the perfect conditions, the perfect plan, the perfect alignment of circumstances, and in waiting, they lose precious time. They believe that success is a matter of luck rather than action. They convince themselves that if they just wait long enough, everything will fall into place. But life doesn't wait, life doesn't pause, and life doesn't reward hesitation. By the time the perfect moment comes, it's often too late. The opportunity has passed. Someone else has taken the lead, and they are left wondering why they never moved. Waiting for perfect timing is a subtle form of procrastination disguised as patience. It is a quiet surrender that masquerades as preparation. Winners, however, understand that momentum is created by decisions and actions, not by conditions. They move forward even when conditions are less than ideal. They push through discomfort, they act through uncertainty, and in doing so, they generate energy that propels them further than they could have imagined. Momentum feeds itself. The first action inspires the next inspires the one after that. A winner doesn't need to feel motivated. They create motivation by moving. They know that waiting for motivation is waiting for lightning to strike. Instead, they light the spark themselves, and with every step, the fire grows stronger. Momentum becomes unstoppable because it is fueled by persistent action, repeated effort, and unshakable commitment. Losers, on the other hand, depend on fleeting feelings to move. They wait to feel inspired, to feel ready, to feel confident, and in doing so, they tie their progress to conditions they cannot control. Motivation is unreliable, but action is reliable. Winners understand that energy follows action, that clarity follows movement, that confidence grows from doing. Momentum is not about perfection, it is about persistence. The small steps, repeated consistently, accumulate into breakthroughs. The action you take today might feel insignificant, but in the chain of momentum, it becomes the starting point of something massive. Every step a winner takes, no matter how small, is an investment in their future, a deposit into the account of success that compounds with each successive action. Losers fear making mistakes, fear starting too soon, fear acting without complete certainty, and that fear paralyzes them. They believe that waiting will keep them safe, that hesitation will protect them from failure, that delay will prevent mistakes. But hesitation is not safety, it is stagnation. Each day spent waiting is a day wasted, a day the world moves forward without them. The cost of inaction is enormous because life does not pause for anyone. Opportunities slip through their fingers, confidence erodes, and dreams fade because they never built the momentum necessary to reach them. Winners leverage small wins to generate larger wins. They start with what they have, where they are, with the resources available to them. They celebrate progress, not perfection. Momentum is cumulative, and every action, every decision, every effort contributes to a larger wave of achievement. Even when faced with obstacles, winners keep moving. They adjust, they adapt, and they push forward, understanding that once momentum is in motion, it is difficult to stop. Momentum is not just movement, it is power. It is energy that lifts, drives, and propels beyond fear, doubt, and resistance. Losers wait for perfect timing, perfect clarity, perfect conditions, and in waiting, they lose not just opportunities, but also their own potential. They underestimate the power of action, the compounding force of persistent effort, and the way momentum carries those who dare to begin. The world rewards those who move, those who act, those who create their own perfect moment through consistent motion. The difference between winners and losers is not luck, not intelligence, not resources. It is momentum. Winners build it. Losers wait for it. Winners adapt and rise. Losers complain and stop. This is the undeniable truth about life, success, and the human spirit. The world is constantly changing, throwing challenges, obstacles, and unexpected circumstances in front of us. Winners know that rigidity and resistance lead to stagnation. They understand that life will never unfold exactly as planned, and the sooner they accept that, the faster they can move forward. Adapting is not a sign of weakness, it is a declaration of strength. It is the ability to pivot, to adjust strategy without losing sight of the goal, to maintain forward motion despite disruption. Winners rise because they focus on solutions, not problems. When circumstances shift, they shift with them. When plans fall apart, they rewrite them. When doors close, they find windows. Adaptation is their superpower because it allows them to remain in motion, to learn, and to seize opportunity even in adversity. Losers, by contrast, resist change. They complain about the unfairness of life, the obstacles in their way, and the difficulties they face. Every problem becomes a mountain. Every setback becomes evidence that the world is against them. Instead of looking for a way forward, they look for reasons to stop. They blame circumstances, other people, or their lack of luck. They allow obstacles to define their limits instead of using them as lessons. Complaining becomes a habit, a shield against responsibility, and a way to avoid taking meaningful action. They forget that life does not owe them fairness and that progress requires flexibility, resilience, and creativity. The more they complain, the further they drift from their potential. Winners understand that rising above challenges requires a mindset of growth and possibility. They do not see difficulties as punishment, they see them as opportunities to develop strength, character, and skill. Each challenge is a test of commitment, a chance to prove that they are willing to persist no matter what. When a winner encounters failure, they do not crumble, they adjust their approach, refine their methods, and keep moving forward. They turn obstacles into stepping stones. They see setbacks as temporary, and they focus on what they can control rather than lament what they cannot. This adaptability allows them to navigate uncertainty with confidence, to innovate when necessary, and to capitalize on opportunities others miss. Losers, however, are trapped in the illusion that success is a straight path. They expect life to be predictable, smooth, and fair. When it isn't, they resist, complain, and stop. They fail to recognize that the ability to adapt is often the deciding factor between those who achieve their goals and those who remain stagnant. Resistance to change creates frustration, disappointment, and stagnation. Losers allow circumstances to dictate their actions instead of taking control and adapting to the reality in front of them. They get stuck in cycles of self-pity, endless complaints, and inaction. Every complaint they voice is a step backward. Every excuse is a brick in the wall between them and their dreams. Winners, in contrast, focus on what is possible within the moment. They shift strategies quickly when needed, seek solutions instead of dwelling on problems, and find ways to leverage change to their advantage. Adaptability allows them to remain resilient when plans fail, when markets change, when relationships falter, or when life takes unexpected turns. They maintain momentum because they refuse to be limited by circumstances. They are willing to experiment, to try new approaches, and to take calculated risks. Rising is not a choice, it is their default response. They take responsibility for outcomes, for decisions, and for their own growth, recognizing that while they cannot control every event, they can control their reactions and their actions. Losers, on the other hand, equate difficulty with defeat. They interpret obstacles as proof of their limitations and allow them to halt progress. Complaining becomes their method of coping, and stopping becomes their default solution. They fail to see that rising above adversity is not only possible, but essential. Success is rarely linear, and the path to achievement is filled with unexpected challenges. The difference is that winners respond with adaptation, while losers respond with complaint. The difference is not in luck, talent, or opportunity. It is in the ability to adjust, rise, and persist. Winners continuously learn from change. Each setback teaches them new strategies, reveals areas of improvement, and strengthens their capacity to endure. They become more resourceful, more resilient, and more capable with every obstacle overcome. Complaining and stopping never build strength or momentum, but adaptation and rising create unstoppable force. Winners understand that the road to success is paved with challenges, and rather than avoiding or resenting them, they embrace them, using every difficulty as a tool to elevate themselves further. Winners choose growth daily, losers choose comfort daily. This choice, repeated over and over again, shapes the entirety of a person's life. Growth is never convenient. Growth is never comfortable. Growth demands effort, persistence, and a willingness to embrace discomfort. It asks you to face fears, challenge beliefs, and push beyond limits you once thought unbreakable. Winners understand this truth, and they make a conscious decision every single day to prioritize growth over comfort. They wake up with purpose, take actions that stretch their abilities, and seek opportunities that expand their skills, knowledge, and mindset. Every day is an investment in who they will become, and they understand that small, consistent actions compound into extraordinary results over time. Losers, in contrast, gravitate toward comfort. They look for the easiest path, the least resistance, and the most immediate relief. They avoid discomfort, avoid challenges, and avoid responsibility for their own development. Comfort feels safe, but it is deceptive. It lulls them into a false sense of security, making them believe they are making progress when they are merely treading water. They trade potential for temporary ease, short-term pleasure for long-term fulfillment, and as a result, their lives plateau. Over time, the repeated choice of comfort over growth creates habits that limit possibility, restrict achievement, and diminish confidence. The more a person chooses comfort, the less capable they become of handling difficulty, taking risks, and pursuing their true purpose. Winners understand that discomfort is the price of greatness. They embrace challenges because they know that each challenge stretches them, builds resilience, and accelerates their growth. They actively seek experiences that push them outside their comfort zone, knowing that mastery, success, and fulfillment live on the other side of resistance. Winners see setbacks, failures, and criticism not as threats, but as opportunities to refine, improve, and evolve. Each obstacle is a test, each difficulty a teacher, and each moment of discomfort a chance to expand their capacity. They measure themselves not by what comes easy, but by how they respond when life demands more than they thought they could give. Losers, on the other hand, measure themselves by ease. They believe achievement should feel comfortable, progress should feel effortless, and success should come without struggle. When life challenges them, they complain, resist, or retreat. They avoid responsibility, avoid risk, and avoid growth because it is uncomfortable. They may achieve small wins, but their progress is limited, their potential remains unrealized, and they remain dependent on conditions being favorable. Choosing comfort daily means surrendering the chance to evolve, to achieve, and to discover the strength and capability within themselves. Winners also recognize that growth is not a one-time event. It is a continuous process. Every day offers opportunities to learn, improve, and expand. They read, they practice, they seek feedback, and they surround themselves with people who challenge and inspire them. They do not wait for growth to come naturally, they intentionally pursue it. This pursuit requires discipline, self-awareness, and courage. It requires deciding repeatedly to prioritize development over ease. Growth becomes a lifestyle, a habit, and a standard that shapes every decision, action, and thought. Losers, by contrast, wait for growth to appear on its own. They hope for improvement, wish for success, and expect transformation without effort. They avoid challenges that would stretch them, avoid feedback that might be uncomfortable, and avoid responsibility for their own development. They measure life by how safe it feels rather than how much they are becoming. And in doing so, they settle for mediocrity, stagnation, and unfulfilled potential. They confuse comfort with happiness, forgetting that true fulfillment comes from growth, contribution, and the pursuit of purpose. Winners choose long-term rewards over short-term ease. They embrace discomfort as a necessary part of becoming stronger, wiser, and more capable. They act consistently, even when the path is hard, because they know that what they are building today will pay dividends for years to come. Each choice to grow strengthens confidence, sharpens skill, and expands potential. They understand that their daily decisions compound into extraordinary outcomes over time, and that choosing growth is the ultimate way to create a life of impact, achievement, and fulfillment. Losers, meanwhile, prioritize immediate comfort over future potential. They let fear, laziness, and avoidance dictate their actions. They stay within the limits of what is familiar, easy, and safe. They miss opportunities to learn, to take risks, and to stretch their capabilities. Over time, the repeated choice of comfort creates a life that feels safe but small, predictable but uninspired, and secure but unremarkable. Winners are committed to a standard of growth. It is a standard that guides their decisions, shapes their habits, and defines their character. They are not swayed by temporary ease, fleeting pleasure, or fear of discomfort. Every day, they rise to the challenge, push beyond limits, and take the actions necessary to expand their capacity. They understand that growth is not optional. It is essential, and it is the key to winning in life.